All right. We'd like to welcome back Michael Phillips from the Richmond Times-Dispatch, one of the most prolific Washington football team writers out there. Michael, how are you?
Secret to success is just hang around for a while, eventually it'll work out for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, one of these times we'll have you on here and not talk about the quarterback position because we'll have it solved and everything will be fine. But that's not the state of things today. So give me your quick sort of assessment of where we are at the quarterback position right now.
Sure, I've seen enough from Taylor Heinicke this year to say I would like him in the building in the future. I think the teammates respond to him. I think he is well liked in the building. That's important. I think you talk about. I'm talking about him as a backup quarterback, obviously. Talking about a backup quarterback, you want a guy who would play really well when called upon, but does not think so highly of himself that he's agitated being the backup, which is certainly the case. As they play Cam Newton this week, I think about Bill Belichick cutting Cam because Mac Jones was named the starter. I think Bill felt it was probably untenable to have a Cam Newton in the backup role. Some guys just aren't backup quarterbacks. I think Taylor Heinicke's a perfectly fine backup quarterback. His alternative is sitting on his couch taking math classes at ODU. So he'll be all right with the arrangement. I've seen enough from him, enough big plays to say I like this guy as the backup quarterback. I don't like this guy's starting quarterback at all. I want a great quarterback. Everybody does. That's how you win championships. That's how you win divisions. That's how you do all that. So who is that guy? Is he in the draft? Is he in free agency? Is he a guy you trade for? Look, you empty the bank for Aaron Rodgers. Everybody's going to do that. If Deshaun Watson's out there and his legal issues are resolved, you empty the bank for Deshaun Watson. It's tough to think that either of those guys land in Washington. It's kind of a favorable draft board in the sense that there's not a can't miss guy. There's not a Peyton Manning. There's not a Joe Burrow out there, or Trevor Lawrence, where you're either picking number one or you're not going to get the guy. This is on the scouts really to, is there a guy in the draft who you can get, whatever your draft position is? It won't be number one. But if they're 5 to 10, 5 to 15, is there a guy you like that's your guy? Because it's crucial, man. You gotta find somebody. You can't band-aid it together with another attempt at Ryan Fitzpatrick. Even if that had worked out this year, we still at the end of the year would have been right back where we started. So you got to find your guy.
Yeah. And this is going into, well, this offseason will lead us into year three of Rivera. And that, to me, it's find your quarterback time. Like, no questions asked at this point. I don't think we can survive much longer on the backup quarterback rotation situation that we've been living and dying with here. The Cam Newton situations come up a lot amongst Washington football team fans on either side of the argument. Do you think that was ever a realistic consideration, or was that just more fans making connections based on history?
No, and I think Ron Rivera felt he needed to maybe establish himself outside of Cam Newton. Like they have a good relationship. They've done lots of things together. But Cam got injured a lot towards the end, and one of the things Ron kept saying when he was hired and early on was, I want to get younger as a team. I want to get guys who can be with me for a number of years. And no matter how you feel about Cam Newton, I love him. I'm just super pumped to watch him play football this weekend. I think that's good for business when Cam Newton's playing in the NFL. I think we can all acknowledge, fast forward 3 years, I don't think Cam Newton's a guaranteed starter in the NFL. He's closer to the end of his career than the beginning. There's nothing wrong with that. All careers have their own lifespans that you work through. But I think Ron sees that. And I wonder if Ron takes for granted that he had Cam when he did in Carolina. He never had to conduct a quarterback search. You wonder about if he had walked through that quarterback wilderness in Carolina. I even think back to the Matt Stafford sweepstake this offseason. Washington was in it. If Ron never had Cam, does he maybe push a few more chips in for Matt Stafford? Does he feel that urgency a little bit more? Just because what a luxury. He didn't have to deal with that for 8 years in Carolina, which is insane. Like, nobody has that. So you wonder if maybe this year is what it took for him to understand, shoot, we are not going anywhere without a franchise quarterback. That's the reality.
Michael, to kind of piggyback off of what you just said there, with Rivera being the leading voice when it comes to, kind of all football decisions, in particular this quarterback position, is there anybody else besides Ron who's going to have input on the quarterback decision? Like, who else would that be? Would it be Scott Turner? Is he going to listen to Marty Herney, Martin Mayhew? Like, do those guys have enough influence to say, hey, Ron, maybe we should look in this direction?
Yeah, and we've seen the Marty and Martin out at games this year, college football games, and I think it was Mayhew the other night who was at Pitt for the Pitt UNC game.
Yep.
Obviously, Pickett and Howell, two of the very big names in this year's class. So they're clearly kicking the tires. And one of the things Ron, it was very important to Ron, and we are talking about it nonstop this week, is he brought a lot of dudes with him from Carolina. He wanted guys he could trust immediately and not have to build a rapport with. And of course, those are people he's worked with before and who he likes. So he trusts the opinion of all those guys. But I've got to believe that at the end of the day, this will be Ron Rivera's final call and his solely. I don't think he's going to outsource the picking of the quarterback to anybody else on this staff.
Awesome. With I think you touched on it a little bit. With Rivera's kind of publicly stated plan of, hey, I'm going to build this team, maybe hopefully drop the quarterback in later, having taken a hit. Right, the defense regressed this year. The vet QB option literally got hurt in the first game of the year, so that plan went up in smoke right away. Has that kind of opened his eyes to, okay, I really do need to find that QB of the future, whether it's, hopefully it's in the draft, maybe, long shot via a trade. But do you think he's still kind of dead set on this plan of, hey, building it first and then maybe dropping in the quarterback later? Or has everything that's gone wrong this year kind of, woken him up to the fact that, hey, I've got to find a guy now?
Yeah, so one of my least favorite things Ron says is anytime you ask me, hey, we're not going to mortgage the future, we're not going to break the bank for a quarterback. And I always think, well, yeah, you should. It's a quarterback, and it's the NFL. Like, this is what we do. There's always the debate this offseason, like, who would you trade? Would you trade Jonathan Allen? Would you trade Chase Young? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know. I don't believe anybody's untouchable when we're talking about a franchise quarterback potential. Now, you give up one of those guys, you better get Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. Like, you better bring one of those guys in. But I think the other factor to consider here is it's a long season. There's still several games left. There's still 8 football games left, I think. Yeah, I'm running the numbers in my head now. We still got 8 football games left. The defense could still show enough. We saw enough against Brady the other day. If they could do that a few more times, I'm not ruling out that a big name would come here. I think Ron's a likable guy. I think it's a good situation. There's good salary cap space, but the defense has to show something. You think about Brady making that decision to go to Tampa. If the defense doesn't really show something the year before, Brady's not going to Tampa. He did his homework on that. Same thing, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, these guys, Deshaun Watson, maybe a little bit less so because he's not going to have as much say in it. But these guys are going to do their homework, and you're not going to be able to fake it. They know good football when they see it. So I think it, as much as, some people, I guess, want to see them have high draft position, I think some big wins down the stretch would go a long ways towards recruiting maybe one of these elite quarterbacks, getting things done a little bit quicker than maybe anticipated.
Do you recall the rumors around the trade deadline around Trubisky, right? I think there was a report out of Buffalo that put that out. I didn't see it substantiated in a bunch of different places, but do you know if there was any validity to that?
The validity is that Ron likes Trubisky, but that's in like a vacuum, like sense of like, there are guys Ron likes and guys Ron doesn't like. And, on a weekly basis, he's reviewing the tape. He's talking to guys. Derek Carr is a guy Ron likes. So, you can put out there on the board, like, this is a guy Ron likes or whatever. Like, you could say he liked Tua coming out of the draft. That was another one. There was a lot of smoke around that, that never amounted to anything. So I think maybe there's a misinterpretation there somewhere along the way of like, these are guys Ron likes, but it's not, these are guys Ron is itching to have in burgundy and gold in the uniform. It's just players he looks at, like, that's not bad. I could work with that. I think that Ron is very savvy in terms of understanding the whole picture. And, we saw him immerse himself in the business side, and, Jason Wright's done some of that, but I maybe I'm giving him too much credit. I think Ron understands that bringing in Mitchell Trubisky is not moving season tickets. Just at this juncture of the game. I think his viable options are swing big or go in the draft. Because you could sell a young kid. Even if you take a second, third round pick, shoot, Dak was a late round pick. Russell Wilson was a late round pick. I'm not bothered if they take a third round quarterback. If it's a guy they love, you could sell a young quarterback, and you can sell a great quarterback. You bring Russell Wilson in, that sells itself. But there's that middle range of Marcus Mariotas and Trubisky's and those guys like that just, I mean, this fan base is already struggling to keep its interest, keep the juice. That wouldn't be good.
No.
You said it to start off the interview that you see Heinicke as a backup. I agree with you. I think he is a backup. Do you think Ron, Scott Turner, do you think they've all made that determination? Hey, we're just trying to get through this season. We're not really trying to evaluate Heinicke as any kind of thing else other than a long-term backup solution. Or do you see there's an actual evaluation process? They're actually looking at him maybe long-term.
No, I mean, outside of like a real miracle playoff run, I don't think there's anything Heinicke could do to make himself the starter long term. I just don't see that. Even you look at the Tampa game where that was his best drive of the season. That was probably the best drive of his career. He was still a game manager in that drive for 10 minutes. He didn't turn the ball over. He made great decisions. He put the ball in the money. He gave Terry that chance to catch that third down pass. Everything he did was NFL caliber all the way. And so I don't want to diminish that at all. That was amazing. We're going to be talking about that drive for a while. But also, break it down play by play. Nothing in that drive screamed like this guy won the game. Like this guy, lifted the team to victory. He was playing inside the offense. So even in the win, I didn't see enough that they're thinking like, let's put everything on this guy's shoulders, which is of course what you'd want to do with a quarterback. The Scott Turner factor, that's a wild one though. Like he's been up and down with the fan base. He's had good games. He's had bad games. I'd be very curious how much his input will play a role here. Cause certainly he's given a lot of autonomy in how he runs that offense. Ron has very minimal input. This is a Scott Turner offense.
Just curious. Yeah, Scott Turner that you mentioned right there with his kind of autonomy with the offense. Sunday's game looked very different than the first 8 games. What's your kind of thoughts or take on Scott Turner as a offensive play caller?
Man, I think everybody benefit from catching their breath over the bye week, really getting back to basics. And I love this offensive line. I love the way they're coached. I love the way they play. They have withstood injuries. They've been very, very good all season. And I think what you saw with Scott Turner really taking advantage of that strength of the team, whether it be through the running plays or getting short yardage stuff in space, getting them the chance to get out and get a second level block, get it moving. I thought they played to their strengths a great deal. I was impressed with the game plan for sure.
Oh, I can listen to you talk about the offensive line all night. That's like my favorite thing.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, obviously losing Rullier is a big one, but they've withstood a lot so far.
They've been very impressive. Matsko has done a really good job with that group this year.
No doubt.
Michael, so Taylor Heinicke and his sort of popularity with the fans, and we talked about how Cam Newton couldn't be a backup in New England just because of his presence. I'm not going to compare the two, but I get a little bit concerned about a new quarterback coming in here that's not a mega star, because how fans are, right? The most popular guy in town is a backup quarterback, especially when you have a guy like Heinicke who fans tend to gravitate to, I assume, because they see a lot of themselves in his story. Do you see that being a problem if we don't get an A-plus guy coming here?
Well, I think a rookie presents an interesting situation in that you don't want to start a rookie week 1 unless he truly is Joe Burrow, Trevor. Like the list of guys who you want week 1 is really small. Kirk wasn't on that list. Robert was obviously a week 1 guy. Robert, he was ready to go from week 1. That's about it over the last 2 decades. Like rookie quarterbacks don't, float for 17 weeks generally. So it would certainly be interesting if they went the rookie route, if they went with a Howell or a Pickett or one of these guys. I think you'd be tempted to give Heinicke the first starts of the season next year. Now, I don't think that produces a problem because unless Heinicke really turns it on, he's going to lose some football games along the way. I mean, so on the Heinicke ledger, let's say even just versus Fitzpatrick or versus Stafford or whoever, he probably lifts them to that Giants win in a way that Fitzpatrick maybe couldn't have. And he probably cost them that Saints game in a way that Stafford wins that Saints game. Denver, man, like Stafford or Fitzpatrick both win in Denver. Dude doesn't take advantage of a shot in the fourth quarter, then miraculously gets a bonus shot and still does nothing with it. So like there's games on the ledger here where like you're going to have a window of opportunity where you can bring the rookie in. So I don't know. If that's a problem, that's a great problem. I feel good about that problem.
I'm with you. Hey, I want to finish it up like this, and I certainly appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
But I want to see if you're willing to give us your prediction for the opening day starter next year and who's starting, or not necessarily a name, but what type of quarterback is starting for us week 8 next year.
Week 8, that's a good one. Okay. I'm not sourcing this. I think Ron, we talked a little bit about this. I think Ron gets it. I think Ron gets it now that he's not going anywhere without a quarterback. I think he's going to swing big. There's 3 guys plausibly out there: Watson, Rodgers, and Russell Wilson. And I think the latter 2 want out. Watson will get out, obviously. I don't know. It's, the NFL is a tricky salary league where the teams have a lot of autonomy. If the Seahawks decide they're keeping Russell Wilson, they're keeping Russell Wilson. That's a thing he just needs to deal with. Like, this isn't the NBA. You can't force your way out. I think if all 3 get out, one of them lands here. I don't know who it'll be. I don't know what's going on, but I think Ron's going to push some chips to the middle of the table if he needs to.
We're going big. I like it, Mike. Thank you so much.
That'll win.
We appreciate you.
Hey,
thank you.
Great to be back.
Thank you.